The most dangerous thing you do every morning costs nothing, requires no effort, and feels like progress. You close your eyes and picture the better version of yourself. The fit body, the dream career, the confidence you've always wanted. It feels productive. It feels like you're building something. By the end of this, you'll understand why that feeling is the exact mechanism keeping you stuck. Gabriele Oettingen, a psychologist at NYU, has spent over 20 years studying what happens when people vividly imagine their ideal future. Her findings should make every vision board owner uncomfortable. In one study, women enrolled in a weight loss program who fantasized most positively about being slim lost 24 pounds less than women whose fantasies were mixed or even negative. 24 pounds. The women who daydreamed the hardest about their goal bodies were the ones whose real bodies changed the least. That gap demands an explanation. And the explanation is mechanical. When you vividly imagine a successful outcome, your brain doesn't file it under motivation. It files it under done. Oettingen's lab calls this mental attainment. Your nervous system experiences the goal as virtually fulfilled. The tension that would normally push you toward action, released. Spent. Gone before you licked a single stamp on a single job application. Her team measured this directly. In a series of 4 experiments published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, Capes and Oettingen tracked systolic blood pressure as a proxy for energization. Participants who were induced into positive fantasies about desired futures showed lower blood pressure than those with negative, questioning, or neutral fantasies. Lower blood pressure here means lower readiness to act. Your body literally powers down. The daydream functions as a physiological sedative, and the dose is proportional to how vivid and pleasant the fantasy feels. That warm glow you get when you picture yourself succeeding, that's the tranquilizer taking effect. Oettingen's results replicated across every domain she tested. College graduates who fantasized positively about landing great careers sent out fewer applications and received fewer job offers. Students with a crush who imagined the relationship going well were less likely to actually approach the person. Patients recovering from hip replacement surgery who fantasized about smooth recovery showed less actual progress. The pattern held for exam performance too. Undergrads who pictured themselves acing a test scored worse than peers who visualized the process of studying. The mechanism traces back almost a century. Kurt Lewin proposed in 1935 that psychological tension drives behavior, and that tension dissolves when a need is fulfilled, or when something symbolically substitutes for that fulfillment. A fantasy is one of the oldest symbolic substitutes the brain recognizes. You feel the satisfaction of arrival without taking a single step, and your nervous system updates its ledger accordingly. Desire, resolved. Action, unnecessary. Neuroscience has since confirmed why the substitution works so well. Mental imagery uses similar neural machinery to actual perception. Your visual cortex, motor cortex, and reward circuits activate during vivid imagination, much like they do during real experience. Research from UCL found that when imagination is vivid enough, activation in the fusiform gyrus matches that of real perception. And people begin confusing what they imagined with what actually happened. The brain has a reality threshold, and a sufficiently vivid fantasy crosses it. This is the cruel irony. Every self-help book telling you to visualize more vividly is asking you to make the fantasy more convincing to the one system that needs to tell the difference between imagination and reality. Vividness is the variable that makes the substitution complete. And the industry selling this advice is enormous. The global self-help market is worth over $50 billion. Rhonda Byrne's The Secret alone sold over 30 million copies in 50 languages, teaching readers that imagining what you want attracts it into your life. A 2025 study by Dixon, Hornsey, and Hartley found that people who endorsed manifestation beliefs made riskier financial decisions, overestimated how quickly they'd reach their goals, and had worse financial outcomes. The commercial engine behind visualization culture is scaling the very mechanism that Oettingen's research identifies as most harmful to actual achievement. So what works instead? Oettingen herself put it clearly. I reasoned that the best way to get people up and moving was to ask them to dream and then to confront them right away with the realities that stood in the way. She developed a method called WOOP, Wish, Outcome, Obstacle Plan. You imagine the desired future, yes, but immediately after, you identify the internal obstacle standing between you and that future. Then you form a concrete plan. If obstacle X arises, I will do Y. The key is holding both the dream and the barrier in your mind simultaneously. That's mental contrasting, and it generates tension instead of releasing it. The results are striking. In peer-reviewed trials, participants using WOOP doubled their physical activity levels. Medical residents studied significantly more with WOOP compared to standard goal setting. Children improved academic performance. A meta-analysis across multiple studies confirmed the effect was robust and replicable. The difference between indulging in fantasy and mental contrasting comes down to one thing: whether the obstacle is present. Dream alone, and your brain checks out. Dream while staring at what stands in your way. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be creates a productive discomfort your nervous system can't ignore. That discomfort is the fuel. The pleasant fantasy was stealing it. Hal Hirschfield at UCLA discovered something that makes this even more urgent. Brain imaging shows that when you think about your future self, your neural activation patterns look more like you're thinking about a stranger than about yourself. The fit, successful, confident version of you that lives in your daydream. Your brain processes that person the way it processes someone else entirely. You're fantasizing about a stranger's success and getting the emotional reward for it, while the actual you, the one sitting here right now, gets nothing but a lower blood pressure reading and a fading sense of urgency. Oettingen's sharpest finding cuts through decades of positive thinking doctrine in a single distinction: expectations, genuinely believing you can succeed based on past experience, predict better outcomes. Fantasies, imagining you already have, predict worse ones, opposite directions. You want the confidence without the premature celebration. You want to believe the mountain is climbable while keeping your eyes locked on every rock and crevice between here and the summit. The next time you catch yourself drifting into that warm, detailed picture of your future self, notice the feeling in your body, the relaxation, the ease. That's your motivational tension leaving. That's the energy you needed, dissipating into a scene that only exists behind your closed eyes. Open them. Look at the obstacle directly in front of you. Feel the discomfort of the gap between who you are and who you pictured. Stay in that discomfort. It's the only thing that moves.